Android 17 and Android 18 are not androids. They are two human teenagers Dr. Gero abducted off a road and cut open. That is not a fan theory. It is what the series says in the word it uses for them, and English lost it in translation. By the end of this video, you will know their human names, what Gero actually did to their bodies, and why the single most important fact about them is one the dub could not carry across. It changes what the Cell Saga is about. It changes what Krillin does at the end of it. And I will finish on the one thing Gero left inside them that neither of them knew was there for years. Because that is the detail that tells you exactly what he thought they were. Start with the word because everything else falls out of it. The Japanese term is jinzoningen. It does not mean android. It means almost literally artificial human, man-made person. And that word is doing something specific. It is a category, not a description of construction. It covers everything Gero built and everything Gero modified, and it does not distinguish between them, because from Gero's point of view there was no distinction worth making. English had no equivalent, so the dub picked android, and android in English carries a very clear implication. A machine shaped like a person, something manufactured from nothing. Which is true of some of them. Android 19 is a machine, fully artificial, built from components never alive. Android 20 is Dr. Gero himself, who took his own brain out of his dying body and installed it in a constructed one. Not built, converted, but converted by choice by himself on himself. Android 16 is fully artificial and modeled on Gero's dead son, which is its own tragedy and its own video. And then there is 17 and 18, and they are neither of those things. They are human beings. Human bodies, human brains, human blood. Modified extensively, augmented, fitted with an internal power source, but not manufactured and not converted from anything. The correct English word is cyborg. Now hold on, because you might be thinking this is a translation footnote, a trivia point, the kind of thing that gets a nod and changes nothing. Watch what it changes. Because if 17 and 18 are machines, then Gero built two weapons and the weapons malfunctioned and killed him. That is a story about hubris. A scientist who reached too far and got what engineers in fiction always get. If 17 and 18 are people, then Gero committed 2 abductions and 2 mutilations, and the people he did it to killed him. Those are not the same story, they are barely the same genre. And the series is completely clear about which one it is telling. Here is what actually happened, and it is worse than most people who have watched the whole saga realize. Dr. Gero needed subjects, not materials, subjects. His fully artificial models were not working out, and he wanted the thing a human body gives you that a built one does not. So he went looking, and he found 2 teenagers. They were siblings, twins. They were not soldiers, not volunteers, not criminals, not anyone with a connection to anything that had happened in the series. They were 2 kids near a road, and depending on the account you are reading, they were runaways or delinquents, which matters only in one respect. Nobody was going to come looking for them. That is not a coincidence. That is selection criteria. He took them and he rebuilt them, and they did not agree to any of it. Their names were Lapis and Lazuli. 17 and 18 respectively. A brother and a sister named for 2 halves of one stone, which is the kind of detail that tells you they had parents who thought about it. And then a man took them and gave them numbers. Sit with that for a moment, because it is the whole thing in one gesture. He did not name them, he numbered them in a sequence after 16 and before he got to himself. They are inventory. Now, what did he actually do to the bodies? The augmentation is extensive. Their strength, durability, and speed are raised to a level that puts them past every fighter on Earth at the time, including a Super Saiyan, which is the single most alarming fact in the entire arc and gets underplayed because it happens fast. But the modification everyone should be looking at is the power source. 19 and 20 run on absorption. They have to take energy out of other fighters through their palms, which is why they behave the way they do in fights, and it is a real limitation. No opponent, no fuel. 17 and 18 were given something different, an internal reactor. Effectively unlimited energy generated inside them, requiring nothing from the outside. That is the upgrade that makes them terrifying, and it is also the upgrade that raises the question this whole thing turns on. Why did he need a human body at all? He could build, he proved it repeatedly. 16 is fully artificial and is, by most measures in the arc, the strongest of the three. 19 works exactly as designed. Gero was not a man who lacked the ability to manufacture a functioning fighter from scratch. So what is in a person that he could not fabricate? The series does not hand you an answer, but it shows you one, and it shows you the same one twice. Look at what the built models cannot do. 16 has to be programmed with a purpose and spends the entire saga struggling against it. 19 executes and nothing else. Neither of them improvises. Neither of them wants anything that was not installed. They are extremely capable and completely predictable, and predictable is the one property you cannot afford in something meant to beat Goku. Because Goku does not lose to power. Goku loses to nothing in this series, and the reason is that he adapts faster than the thing in front of him. Every villain who has him beaten on raw strength gets beaten by a decision they did not anticipate. Gero had watched all of it. He had surveillance on Goku for decades. That is the entire premise of how his research existed. He knew that a stronger machine was not the answer, because stronger had been tried by better-funded people than him, and it kept not working. What he needed was something that would surprise Goku. Something that would get bored, improvise, do the unreasonable thing. And you cannot build that, you can only take it. Which means the abduction was not a shortcut or a resource problem. It was the design. He went looking for two people specifically because the quality he needed was the quality that makes them people, and there is no version of acquiring it that does not involve doing this to somebody. That reframes him entirely. Gero is not a scientist who cut a corner. He is a scientist who correctly identified that the only viable weapon was a person and went and got two. And here is the part I find genuinely disturbing about the design, once you look at it properly. He did not remove their personalities. He could have, he was capable of it. 16 has a programmed disposition, 19 takes orders without complaint, and Gero installed his own brain into a machine body without apparently losing himself. So he understood the neurology involved better than anyone alive. He left Lapis and Lazuli intact. Their memories, their humor, their attachment to each other, their contempt for authority, all of it still running. Which means the two most dangerous beings on the planet were left with the exact personalities that made them problems in the first place. And the personality he left in 17 was that of a teenager who does not do what he is told. That is not an oversight. Or if it is the most expensive oversight in the series. Because the very first thing they do when they are activated is kill him. Not turn on him after a long campaign. Not gradually develop free will. 17 wakes up, listens to Gero give an order, and puts a hand through his chest inside about a minute. The standard reading is that the androids rebelled. Machines slipping their programming, the oldest story in science fiction. That is not what the scene shows. There is no programming to slip. 17 was never obedient at any point in any state. He was a teenager who did not take orders before Gero touched him, and he was a teenager who did not take orders afterwards, and in between a man cut him open and made him strong enough that the not taking orders finally meant something. Gero did not build a weapon that malfunctioned. He took a person who would never have worked for him and made that person unstoppable. And then he switched them on and told them what to do. Now watch how the two of them behave once they are free, because this is where the cyborg reading pays off completely. They are not on a mission, there is no directive. Gero built them to kill Goku, and the moment he is dead they visibly do not care about killing Goku. What do they actually do? They go shopping, 18 wants clothes. 17 wants a van and a road trip. They argue like siblings. They stop at a shop and browse. Their stated plan, the thing they announce, is to go and find Goku eventually because it might be interesting, and in the meantime they would like to drive somewhere. Every single one of those behaviors is human. Not human adjacent, not simulated. Two young people with unlimited power and no supervision doing exactly what two young people with unlimited power and no supervision would do. Compare that to 19, who does nothing but pursue the objective until destroyed, or 16, whose entire arc is about being a built thing that chooses to become more than its purpose. 16 has to earn his humanity across the whole saga. 17 and 18 never lost theirs. Nobody took it. Gero simply did not consider it worth removing, and that is somehow the most contemptuous thing in the story. He looked at two people and decided their personhood was not a component. It was not even in the way. Now there is an objection worth taking seriously here, and it is the strongest one against everything I have said. You could argue the distinction does not matter in practice. They killed a lot of people in the future timeline. 18 fights the Z-Fighters and enjoys it. 17 is casually destructive. If they behave like weapons, does it matter what they were made from? The two answers. First, look at which timeline you are pointing at. The future androids and the present androids are not the same characters in any meaningful sense. Future 17 and 18 spent decades unopposed, killing for entertainment in a world where every fighter who could have stopped them was dead. Present 17 and 18 were switched on, killed their abuser, and went to buy clothes. Same modifications, wildly different outcomes, which is exactly what you would expect from people and exactly what you would not expect from machines running identical programming. The second, and this settles it, the series lets them stop. 18 marries Krillin. She has a daughter, Marin, which is a thing a fully artificial construct could not do and a modified human could. She fights in the Tournament of Power for prize money and complains about it. She becomes, over time, a fairly normal person with an unusual job history. That ending is available to her because she was never anything else. Which brings me to Krillin and the thing I promised you at the start. Gero left something inside both of them. A self-destruct device. A bomb implanted in each body so that if his creations ever stopped being useful, he could end them remotely. Think about what that means alongside everything else. He left their personalities intact, gave them unlimited power, and then installed a bomb in each of them because he knew perfectly well what he had done and who he had done it to. The bomb is the confession. You do not need a kill switch for a machine you built. You need one for a person you took. And neither of them knew it was there. They lived, fought, argued, and drove around a country with an explosive in their chest that another man could trigger. Now Krillin. At the end of the Cell Saga, the Dragon Balls are available and Krillin gets a wish. He is, at that point, in love with 18 and everybody knows it, and what he asks for is to make her human. Shenron refuses, he cannot do it. And the reason given is the one that proves the entire argument of this video. She is already human, there is nothing to convert. The wish is incoherent. So Krillin asks for the second thing instead. He asks for the bombs to be removed. From 18 and from 17, who he has no relationship with at all and who has done nothing for him. That wish gets granted. And that is the actual end of the android arc, properly understood. Not a machine being defeated. Two abducted people getting the last piece of their abuser taken out of their bodies by a man who asked for nothing else with the wish he was owed. Krillin is usually the punchline of this series. He is the one who dies, the one who loses, the one whose name is a joke about how often he needs reviving. He is also the only character who looked at the two most dangerous beings on the planet and correctly identified them as victims, and then spent a wish on it. Nobody else in that arena worked it out. Vegeta wanted a rematch, Goku wanted to see how strong they were, Piccolo assessed them tactically. Krillin looked at 18 and saw a person who had been done something to. He was right, and he was right for a reason the English dub could not tell you. Because the word it used made her a machine in the audience's head from her first appearance. So the next time somebody calls them androids, they are not wrong exactly. The series calls them jinzoningen, and that covers everyone Gero made. But if you want to know what actually happened in that lab, the accurate sentence is this. A man kidnapped two teenagers named Lapis and Lazuli, took their names away and gave them numbers, rebuilt their bodies without asking, left their minds exactly as they were, and hid a bomb inside each of them in case they ever became inconvenient. Then he woke them up and gave them an orders. If you want more of this, the buried detail that changes the reading, that is what this channel does. And next, Gero put his own brain in a machine and became Android 20, and everybody files that as a scientist chasing immortality. It was not. He was out of time, and the reason why is uglier than ambition. That one is up now.